I am Araceli, a wealth advisor, real estate investor in the United States and Canada, and creator of Wealthy Women in Real Estate. Every week, I meet with Colette, a real estate broker and a real estate investor in Canada. We come together to talk about all things real estate investing and how to increase your wealth. Join us. Welcome, everyone. This is Araceli, transition wealth advisor and real estate investor in the US and Canada. In my chat with Colette today, come on, Colette, can you?
Oh, hi. That was a different introduction. I'm usually used to you say, and I'm with Colette, and introduce yourself. But I should know the deal by now. We've been doing this for so long. Anyway, hi, everybody. My name is Colette Rabba. I am a residential real estate broker in the GTA. Friends with Araceli, obviously, if it's not obvious.
Oh, you're not my friend. I don't know.
Yes, we are very good friends. Yeah. So also, Araceli and I love to do the show. And why we created the show, too, is to give you advice, to give you ideas, thoughts, how things happen in the real estate and financial world. And how we can enhance your life and your experiences when you're ready to either buy, sell, or in this case, rent. So you have two landlords here. So also not just a real estate, residential real estate broker, but also an investor and a landlord. So Araceli as well. She's got a couple rental properties. And we have experience good and bad with tenants. So today we really wanted to talk about the 5 things that, generally speaking, landlords will ask you. This should be no surprise if you've ever seen a rental application, because all these questions are on there. But we just wanted to dive in a little bit deeper to give you, if you are a tenant or possibly even if you want to become a landlord, these are things that you should be familiar with the document, but also in general, what you're allowed to ask and what you're not allowed to ask. So, or make decisions on based on what they give you. So there are some reasons why you can reject an applicant, but we're not even going to talk about that today. But if you do want more information, that's what we're here for. We're a phone call away, text, email, whatever you want. Please ask us questions. That's what we're here for. So shall we go ahead with our 5 little...
Yeah, so this episode basically is meant for either, as Colette said, if you want to become a landlord, what things to ask that you're allowed to ask. And they're kind of representative of the kind of tenant that you're going to get. And also for people that are looking to rent and they want to be prepared of what they're going to be asked. And, you know, how is that going to be better or not in their favor, I guess. So
Right.
So let's get started. So the first one is very obvious, which is the income and your length of employment. So
Right.
that is very important that for landlords to look at, because they want to see that somebody's been working for a while, that they have a steady income, because, you know, obviously they need to have means to pay the rent. Correct, Colette?
Well, yes, and also as a tenant, you actually want to make sure that you can afford the place that you are renting. So obviously, if you're making $1,000 and you're renting a place for $2,000, you know that you're going to just be rejected, because there's no way that you can, unless you can prove
that there's other income coming in.
Yeah, income coming in. So this is a really funny little snippet of what happened to me not too long ago with one of my clients that I'm representing them as landlords. I had tenants come in and they showed me, it was parents and 3 kids. And they showed me the income. I think one parent wasn't working, one parent was working retail, making maybe $50,000, $60,000 a year, but this was a full house. So based on her income, they could not afford this house. But then she showed me her daughter's income, and she was a gamer, online gamer, and she alone made $120,000 a year. So I suggested they put her on the lease, you know, to make sure that the landlord, when I presented this to him, that they would be accepted based on that income too. So this is the thing that's so important. Even though you think, oh, you know, of course we'll manage, we have lots of savings. Landlords don't care how much you have in savings, or even if you're getting some kind of peripheral maybe from the government, some kind of payment.
Exactly.
It helps, but honestly, number one, all has to do with your income, not just you, but everybody that's going to live there too. So that should help you
Yeah,
get the place that you want. Make sense?
absolutely. Yeah. So that is basically number two, which is your income to rental amount that just Colette talked about,
Right.
right?
The ratio that we like to see, and I don't know if you agree to this or not, but we like to see 30%. So we don't want you as a tenant to pay more than 30% of your income to rent, because you still have utilities, you still have to eat, you still have kids, whatever lifestyle things that you may or may want to travel, things like that. So that's a really good ratio. We realize in Ontario right now that that is very, very uh, difficult because rents are
Yes,
so high.
yes, for sure. And this is obviously, as a financial planner, I can tell you that it is very hard to reach that. But that's why a lot of people, they are actually coming together, even that they're not involved, they come and rent something together because
Right,
combined income, they share expenses when it comes down to housing and some of the food and other things that could be together, right? So there's friends, there, brother and sisters coming together, so that is something that, we're really kind of have to do right now in order to make it happen. But this
right,
is something that you have to be aware of. If you're thinking about moving into a property that is a little bit more costly than what you can afford, maybe you can get together with a friend, somebody that you can, put your income together and make this happen. So it is possible, but it just takes a little creativity. So
of course. And let's just say you can't, as let's just say there's lots of different scenarios, but as a young person, you don't have the income to meet that 30%. You can always ask a parent to co-sign for you or to be a guarantor. So depending on the landlord, they might accept that. They might be okay with that. Some landlords say no, it doesn't mean anything. There's still no guarantee.
yeah,
So there are ways around it. Again, like always talk to us and ask us. Or even just watch the rest of the episode to find out. We might actually blurt out some good information because
yeah,
how we can like talk and talk. So
yeah,
let's move on to number 3.
yeah.
Yeah. So Araceli was a little surprised, and this is not something that you'll see on the rental application, but something that I do. I actually advertise my rental properties on something like Facebook. So if somebody replies to that Facebook ad, it's through their social media Facebook page.
Yeah.
So I always, there's nothing wrong here. You sent it to me. I'm privy to your photos, to your name, to Googling you as a person. I can go to LinkedIn. I can go to any other social media sites to check you out. And it always helps to actually have a social media presence because we do want to know who you are. We want to know there's nothing to say that, oh, you're not allowed to reject someone based on the tattoos, let's say they have, or, whatever the case may
Or the
be.
color of their hair. No, that's not
Right.
important, right?
Exactly. So that's why social media presence is good. I know it's not lawful to say you don't have to do anything. But when it comes to actually getting accepted, we all as landlords want to know that you're a nice person. Really, in essence, like that's what it is. Doesn't matter about the color of your hair, what kind of charity work you do. If you want to add all that stuff, great. But we just want to know the type of person you are. If you travel a lot, all of
Yeah.
that, believe it or not, we can't decide we don't like you based on your choice of music. So don't worry about that. Like that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about, do you look like you're responsible? Do you only have pictures on your social media about you falling down drunk every weekend at the park? Even though we can't reject you from that, it really shows your character.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, that's the truth. Whether you like it or not, that's what we do. If you don't have a social media presence, we can't reject you based on that either. We just, in this day and age, that's something
Yeah,
that we can use as
exactly.
a tool. And I'm
That
being
is the only way that it's kind of like your image out there.
right.
So, for people that don't have social media, good, but the majority of people, I would say 90% of people are in social media. You have to be consistent with what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and obviously, just have nice things like that. It just gives, it doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day, but it does show that you do care about
You know what it
your,
does?
right.
You have to fill a rental application out. So let's just say you have something that I work in daycare, and this is my I'm writing this out, and this is the company that I work for at ABC Daycare.
Yeah.
So now on your social media, if it shows that you are a bricklayer, let's say, that's not a bad thing, but then the two things
Not
don't
consistent. Yeah.
match.
Yeah.
So, that sort of raises questions. So just things like that. Keep in mind that we want to sort of see who you are based on the information we get from the rental application, and that it, verifiably is you, and
I
not
think
like
you just hit it on the head right there. It's basically consistency with what you say, with what you're doing, and what you're showing on social media. And that is pretty much it. So don't be,
don't
don't be
overthink it.
concerned. We're not creepy trying to reach anything like that, nothing like that.
Well,
But
speak for yourself.
yeah, consistency only. So that
Exactly.
puts us into number 4. Another thing that is very important is how many people will be moving into the rental unit, right?
Right. Yeah. So
That is actually can help you because if there's 2 adults that are bringing income, then this might be actually in your favor. However, if you have 5 adults coming in and 3 of them are younger kids that are not working, and then one spouse is not working, and then the other is working, but it's not making a lot of money, that might not help you very much, right? But you do have
well,
to disclose the people
right,
that are
and
going to be there.
that is a question on the rental agreement. So if you lie about it, that could be grounds for eviction. So you can't move into a place knowingly that it's a one-bedroom apartment and you have 5 people moving in. So there are laws that also state that you just can't have that many people. I'm not saying exactly what the law is, but you can't have a one-bedroom apartment and have 20 people live there. Like, that's just unlawful. So you have to be honest about it on the rental application. Say how many people are living in there. It will be living with you. Also, let's just say there's a big house and you want to sublet a room or sublet the basement. That won't be held against you, but it also means that you have to take responsibility for that. So that's a whole other ball game. If you want more information about that, we can talk about that. But
So
this is something that is very, very clear on the rental application. How many people and who are they? Are they kids? Are they grown-ups? Not just for how many people are going to live there, but also for safety. The landlord has to know how many people will be living in that house.
exactly. So the other thing with that, Colette, is that if you are, let's say you move in and you're single, but then you meet somebody and you want to live with them, it's better that you talk to your landlord and say, is it okay? Do we need to pay more? What is it? Just, everything is communication. So if
Right.
something changes, or maybe you have a child that needs to come back and live with you, something like that, it's perfectly
Absolutely.
okay if there is a space for it. Of course, if you have a little bachelor apartment, may not be conducive, but
Well, that's
it's
the thing. So the law also says that the landlord can't arbitrarily say no.
yeah.
So there has to be a discussion there. It is always better to come clean and to be honest about it before something happens. The landlord can release you out of your if things happen, and like you said, a child has to move back in, and you personally as the parent don't want them to move into this small place with you. You have this conversation with your landlord, and the agreement that you signed or you will be signing to say if there's an emergency and we need to move out, how much notice can I give you? All these things should be in the lease at that time. But again, that's a lot of information. So very basically, how many people will be moving in is the starting point. And if that's who the landlord is accepting, if that's what they want, if that's how big the house is or property, whatever size it is, that's going to be okay. So for example, I have a basement apartment. It's a 1-bedroom. I had someone inquire for 4 students. And I said, no, like, where are you going to sleep? Like, where are they all going to be? So unless they're all not there at the same time, like, I can't imagine wanting to be in a place in a small apartment in a basement with, 3 other people. But anyway, that's my own comfort level.
For sure.
Anyway, so, and the 5th thing is, do you want to say it or you?
Yeah, it's pets and how many. Okay. And the same, you cannot be rejected in an application because you have a pet.
Actually, that's not true.
Okay.
Yeah. So the law is you cannot be rejected or kicked out after you have moved a pet in. So it's very different. If
Okay.
you have a pet, and it's always a bone of contention with a lot of people, I have the right to ask, do you have a pet? And or how many pets do you have? And based on that, I can say yes or no. There is no law against saying no at this point. If you're honest about it and then you move the pet in, I as a landlord cannot kick you out. So really there's that, again, clarity between you and your landlord. You don't want bad blood. Just admit it, be honest about it. There are lots of landlords that accept pets. Depends on what kind of pet. Maybe I don't want to, let's say in my basement apartment, I don't want someone to move in with 20 snakes. Okay, that's just my comfort level. I can say no before I accept you.
So what happens if they bring the snakes after?
I can do nothing. And that's the fear with landlords where...
Yeah, so that is really kind of a gray area because you don't want to have 20 dogs or 20 cats in a small place, which
I don't think not even in a small place, in any place. And also like this we can go on about just number 5 by itself because just because you move in, actually, sorry, if you move in and you don't have a pet, and let's say you're lonely, you're by yourself, and you get a dog, the landlord cannot say no to you after you've already moved in, you've already established an agreement, and there's nothing in the lease or even in the application to say, there is something in the application to say, do you have pets and how many and what kind? You should be forthcoming about that. If you're not, then there will be discussions about what happens if you do show up on the day of
the
moving.
other thing that I know about, Colette, is if you do have a multifamily unit in which they are very close together and one person is allergic to a pet,
Of course.
then it might be a discussion that you need to have with the person that is bringing in the pet to say,
Right.
listen, the other tenant here, it is allergic to it. You either have to get rid of it or you have to be released. That is really grounds for it, but that's why you need to really be in communication with your landlord to figure out, is there a problem? You also have to use common sense. If it's a house, right? You might be able to say, well, I can get a dog, it's okay. And the landlord, there really has nothing to say. But if there is something that is people that are really living close by, right? That it's like a house that is divided like I do have it. Then you have to be careful. Even ask them before you bring the pet in, right? And so on. Also, there are some dogs that are very disruptive, that they bark all the time. that
Right.
also has to be looked at.
Well, when an animal or a person, let's say you have a guest that stays for, over a month. Now, are they considered a tenant or not? So, let's just go back to pets and being disruptive. So, number one, if they are disruptive, that's another clause in your lease, and that is, we're giving you this place based on you being a quiet and thoughtful tenant. So that is now part of the other clause where your pet is being disruptive. So you could actually be evicted for something like that, but there has to be proof. And let's say the other tenant that's living across, right in the next unit, they're the ones that will be able to give you that information if you, the landlord, don't
Yeah.
live there yourself. The other thing too is with pets, be very careful in condos because a lot of condo boards don't
Yes.
accept pets. So as here I let's just say I own a apartment, a unit in a condo building, and the condo rules have to be given to the tenant even before they sign any agreement because they have to agree to those rules.
Yeah.
So one of the things might be no pets bigger than 5 pounds, or things that no noise after 12,
Sure. Yeah.
or midnight. So all these things that you as a landlord are responsible to give the tenant that information before. So as a landlord too, if that person brings in a pet, you could be in trouble as the landlord too by allowing that tenant to move in with
Yeah,
you.
and that is if the condo corporation actually allows tenants, because some
Right,
board they don't even allow. They have
right,
to be the owners of the property in order for them to live there. So you have to also be careful if you're buying something that you think you're going to be renting and the board doesn't allow rentals or Airbnbs, then you have to be careful because you have to abide by those rules. So that's
exactly.
what it is. So that is it for today. So it was more in length that we thought about, but it is important for you to know whether you are a tenant that wants to start renting or somebody that is a landlord. You want to become a landlord and you want to know what to ask and what's important. So number one is the income and length of employment that the prospective tenant has, the income to rental amount ratio.
Two.
That's number two. Number three is what is their social media and if it's consistent. Number four is how many people will be moving in. And number five is pets and how many. So that's it for today. So thank you, Colette, so much for being here.
My
And
pleasure.
we will see you in the next one. Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Please remember to subscribe and send us a comment. If you have anything else that we didn't talk about today, please let us know.
Thanks for
Bye.
joining us. Bye.
Thank you for being here on the show. Please remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified when there are more shows available. And if you would like to have more information on how to start investing in real estate, please visit my website at www.aracelihernandez.com. Thank you.